The brush we're going to use today is this Declaration Grooming B5 knot. Very dense brush, and I put it in a new handle and a little bit more ergonomic for my bowl lathers. The other one put my fingers a little farther in towards the knot, and so I was just constantly getting soap on my fingers. And we'll see if this one's a little nicer. Let's go ahead and put it in some water, have it soaking. Since I did give the knot a new home, I am not going to be surprised to see hair loss, bristle loss on this brush. It's not going to surprise me. I'm not concerned because this knot is just so dense, full of hairs. I'm not worried about that at all. The newness for this shave is going to be this sample puck. It was provided here, and then I just had this container laying around, so I transferred the label over to this. Siliski Soaps is, I think they're kind of new to the game the last year or two, and he sent out some samples to people who asked for them. And Herbal Medley version 3 is what I'm going to be trying today. I've never used one of his soaps. Here, and this Dollar Tree container here is kind of neat. To let your soap dry out, you can tip it up, or to get the scent, you can do that. But obviously for loading, I've got to find my way in there. Normally I'd do the scoop method with my 1/4 teaspoon scoop, but as a part of the sample here, I want to test the normal loading, brush loading features, abilities of this soap here, and so I'm not going to scoop the first use here. I'll describe the soap a little bit more later. The Nacet, 50 dots on this side, 32 dots on this side, so 83 uses is going to be tonight's stat. The razor for today is the polished version of the Dart. The polished Blackland Dart. Gorgeous, gorgeous razor, but seems to be just a little more aggressive than his machined brother, which I dearly enjoy. And so what we're gonna do this time is it may be the same thing as what I've experienced before, but I'm gonna try different angles, different takes on it to see if I can get it to be a little less harsh. All right, there we go. I am working with cold water since it's kind of almost the winter here, and I am going to, this is also hard water, so we'll see if this soap works in hard water too. I'm going to rinse now. All right, so the brush has been soaking. I am going to do my usual routine and sling most of the water out of the brush. And what I do is I'll keep an eye on the soap. If it doesn't look like it's picking up too much, I'll just add a few drops of water to the top of the puck. I'm going to load up my syringe there now. All right. So I'm going to do kind of a 30-second load probably, but let's just take a look at it about 15. When 45 seconds rolls around. All right, there we go. So I'll evaluate when it hits the 0 mark. Yeah, I mean, picking up just a little bit. It's kind of dry, and that's all right. Puck hasn't been moistened at all. Let's just add a little bit of water there. It might instantly come up, and 15 is about to roll. Okay, so another 15 seconds. So we'll go until we hit 30. And this may be too dry, and that's okay, but this is just to test it out. Yeah, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put a little bit more water on there. And so what we may learn here, okay, that's at 40 seconds, and so we'll go until 55. And actually, I'm going to interrupt and put a little bit more water on there. We'll do for 5 more seconds. Okay, 55 right up until like 601. There we go. And you know what? I'm a scooper and not a loader like this. Take a look at that. I mean, I'm a bad judge, and so I'm going to just make sure. I'm going to add some more water, and let's just do a little bit more. It's possible I should have started out with a lot more water in the brush. So let's, who knows, this may end up to be about a minute. All right, I got a feeling that should be enough. The scent I get when I smell it right from the soap is it's one of those orange derivatives, a zesty high type orange. Not too high, but you know, to where it's like distressing and bothers your nose. But maybe bergamot is the right one. I think neroli is another name for another one of the variants. I don't know the differences between them, but that's kind of what I'm getting. I think there was Tallow and Steel Classic was kind of similar in that regard. Maybe there's some grassiness in the background. I'm not really sure. It almost leans toward a mint, a peppermint type thing. Maybe that's menthol that's been added to it. I'm not sure. My nose isn't that good, but that's my initial take, the initial layman's take. All right, so now we can look, and you can see around the edges especially, we've got more soap. Let's just see if this is enough to go with it. I'm going to rinse off my face one more time here. A dry lather bowl. So we're just taking the brush right to the bowl. It's looking pretty good. And we'll stir for a little bit, and then so now if we count the water that I added during the loading process, we have used up 2 teaspoons of lather. I'm sorry, of water for that amount of loading. Nice sheen to it. It's an attractive lather at this point. And another half teaspoon. You know what? Let's just add a full teaspoon because I'm sure it's going to need it. Take a look at that. See those peaks right there? Kind of the jaggediness. A nice, nice sheen as well. The peaks usually tell me that it needs more water. It's got plenty of structure right now. I usually like to not have that much structure in it. So now we've got 2. I went ahead and decided to add a whole teaspoon of water in there. You can shortcut with many soaps. Instead of starting with a merely damp brush, you can start with a wet brush, maybe half full of water or something like that, and that's often a shortcut in building your lathers. One of the problems with just loading for a super long time, like maybe it's possible that I loaded for too long. Who knows, maybe by 30 seconds. Sometimes you just never know. I haven't loaded from the bowl long enough to get a really good natural sense of how much soap I'm getting on the brush. Oh yeah, this is a lot of thick. The volume just kind of exploded here. And my point is, you can get too much soap on your brush and then you have to end up adding a lot of water to it to get it to be not dry, to get it to stick to your skin and bond really well. Look at that. It's a very slick, very dense. It feels rather dense. And take a look. See that jaggediness right there? It's standing. Let's all look at the peak. If we kind of pull it out like that, see the peaks are kind of short. It's not elongated. It's not moving very much. That is usually, with most of the soaps that I've tried, a sign that the okay, let's do a finger test right now. Yeah, actually that's a pretty good amount of cushion there. Medium amount, I would say. It's not a light amount. I do feel the ridges in my fingerprints. This feels like it's going to be a good, as I rinse my fingers off, not a whole lot of residual slickness that, you know, where it takes a while to rinse your hands. I'm going to refill my syringe. So we've got 4 teaspoons already in it. So we'll see if maybe my loading was just way too much, because looks like I've got plenty of lather here to do the job. So maybe I loaded too much. We'll see. I like scooping because I know exactly how much soap that I need. I know that I'm not wasting it, but I don't know, something about me feels like I need to get better at loading from the bowl. A little bit better elasticity there. Definitely think next time I should start with a wetter brush with this particular soap. Now look at that. Look at that elasticity. Not holding himself up really. The peak that was right there collapsed back into the bowl. Often that's a really good place in terms of the way I like the lather to exist. I want it slick. I want it elastic like that, so it bonds to my skin, not too dry. All right, let's do my finger test again. Oh, still a good bit of cushion. Now that's really interesting. It's almost, the cushion is almost dynamic. It gets light until you start to get close to have your surfaces close together of your fingertips, and then it gets a little bit more dense. That's very interesting. I like the feel very much. Nice luxury feel here. It's got a great sheen to it. Yeah, nice. Let's shave with that and see what happens. One more splash of water on my face. All right, there we go. This brush, unfortunately for a soap evaluator, kind of makes every soap feel awesome. This may actually still need a little bit more water. Another thing to check out with a new base here, a new scent, how does it smell now that it's lathered compared to when it was dry? So let's take a whiff. That zesty orange or whatever it is, much more muted. Could it be an orange and a cedar? It's a lot more subdued now as a lather. All right, let's just interesting. Yeah, I think I may have to add a little bit of water here. Because this is just really rich. Just a few drops at a time there. Tons of lather available here. All right, I think the cleaning operation is done. Let's kind of thin down the layers here. Feels great. I haven't noticed any menthol kick, so I'm happy about that. That part of the scent maybe made me think there might be some menthol or mint or something in here. And I'm glad to tell you that I'm not really getting that now that it's lathered. Feels really good on the skin, like it's got moisturization type properties. Now this has been a rough blade for me in this razor, and so that part should not be held against the soap. All right, it feels great on my face. It really does. That's a really good looking lather. And there's no doubt if you thickened it up a little bit by not adding as much water as I have, that you could get all kinds of creamy luxury if you wanted to. I'm going to move my angle here up. I'm going to open my handle angle more to see if I can tame this razor just a little bit. Now this is working well, it seems. And this is a, in a way, this is not a fair comparison in general of the soap, since I'm using a very old blade. However, it is going to tell us how this soap works in this scenario. I mean, a bunch of people, I'm sure, are going to review this soap with normal use count blades. Why can't some guy use it with a blade that he's marathoning? Why not? Okay, this open angle is really working for me. I thought I was really going to have to return the dart, but this gives me hope. See how he feels on second and third passes. Sometimes irritation can build up. It may feel fine on the first shave, but sometimes it can. Let's see what happens. All right, let's rinse off, see how it feels. That felt terrific. A lot of times a soap will not give me a creamy, luxurious feel right from the after the first pass. I've got oils on my skin, things like that, that help to break down a lather and keep it from being quite so luxurious. sometimes. That wasn't the case this time. It felt great coming off my face. All right, let's dip in there. I have way more soap than I need. It still looks terrific. Leave my face a little bit. Okay, you know what? I think he does have some kind of cooling thing in this soap. I don't think it is in a sufficient enough quantity to cause me problems, so I'm happy with that. Paladin soaps, they're discontinued now, but they have, a couple of theirs have menthol in them, and it's so strong that I can't smell the actual soap. I just used one last night that was Crossroads, and it was tobacco and sandalwood, and that menthol just overwhelmed it. Couldn't smell the menthol. But I am feeling a very slight cooling effect. All right. All right, what's its strength now that I'm just having it on my face right now? Fairly light. I mean, I'd say a 1 unless I start to kind of waft a little bit, and then maybe it bumps up to a 2. But I definitely smell it as I'm applying it. More of a strength there. That's probably more along the lines of a 3 or 4. Yeah, maybe a 1 or a 2 right now. Maybe a 2 or a 3 out of 10. While I'm kind of wafting it and moving the scent around. So it's kind of a low strength scent to me. What am I doing? I was about to rinse it off. All right, second pass. Cross grain on the face here. For my stuff, it seems to do better if I kind of go around the edge there, coming from the bottom. And this is my tricky spot right here. So I've remarked about this dart handle, and how the polished version, it is just so smooth. It is harder to hold than the machined version by quite a bit, meaning it's just slippery when it gets wet, and especially when it gets soapy, compared to the machined version, because there's such a fabulous grip with that one. But it does stand on its own just fine. I'm not having a problem right now. It's just if you compare them, then the difference is very noticeable. What I'm doing now, I added another teaspoon of water to the soap that was remaining, because that last pass I was feeling a little bit of drag, and I believe it's because Lather just wasn't quite slick enough. It was just really, really creamy and dense and stuff, and look at this, it's still not a problem at all. I am not diluting this too much. It is looking great. I mean, this scent is okay. I'm not a huge fan of it, but that's just because I think it's a well done scent. But I don't think it's my wheelhouse. Yeah, and I've got tons. Obviously, I loaded for way longer than I needed to. Look at that. because I just have tons of lather available here. Look at that. That's awesome. All right, third pass now. See if this thinned down lather treats me any different. All right. Very, very nice. I mean, the scent may not be my cup of tea, but the base, my first impression of this soap base, it's very good. I'm not an expert in soap bases, but I've used a lot of them, and I've used a lot of the good ones. And really happy with this one. Another cross grain pattern here. Getting some good glide. It's still a little bit of drag. So I wonder if I could go even slicker. I think this angle here of opening it up more is much better than kind of the normal angle I was using before. I was not looking forward to the third pass when I was using it at the kind of more average, like 30-35 degree angle. I'm basically keeping this on the top cap as much as I can, and then just lowering it until I feel some good cutting action happening. All right, this is where things can get dicey if I haven't okay, you know what I'm feeling? There's not a lot of, maybe you'd call it residual slickness, where like you can shave an area, come back to it in 10 seconds, and still shave it again because the slickness is still there. This is not one of those soaps, it seems. It's best to re-lather. Okay, there we go. So that's 3 passes. I'm going to rinse and take a look at things. Because of the soap, because of the razor being so aggressive, I'm actually not cutting great on my Adam's apple, which is usually not a problem. I'm probably taking too much care with it, and not having, my technique is probably wrong for this razor and this blade. However, my trouble spot right here is pretty good. It's actually pretty good. There are a bunch of hairs in that area cut flush already. Usually I have to do 3.5 passes to get to that point. So let us do that half pass. Wow, I thought that adding a whole teaspoon to the lather in the bowl was gonna, might have a chance of thinning it out in an unacceptable way. Not at all. It might even need more water, technically speaking. This is good stuff. All right, let's try to get those Adam's apple hairs here. Little stretching, not a lot. This is a cross grain pass for me, since my neck hairs usually go kind of sideways. And then right here they start to turn down. And so a diagonal pass like this is the cross grain pass. Yeah, I don't think I'm getting a whole lot of glide right now. I think I'm getting just a little more drag than usual. Looks pretty good. So that's interesting. Tons of good cushion, creaminess, but a little bit of drag. Rinse. Let's throw on just kind of another. I'm going to leave my neck area pretty much dripping wet. Put on some more lather. And also kind of testing the soap's ability to protect my neck area after repeated touch-up passes. I usually only do the 3.5 and not 4.5, if you will. Definitely feel like I could be stirring up a little irritation. Not because of the soap, but because of this aggressive razor and the multiple passes that I'm doing here. I'm trying to open up the angle, get it right. I think that is the best I'm going to be able to do. I think I have a little bit of a weeper right here. I think I had a zit or some type of blemish right here that stuck his little head up and got it chopped off. All right, rinse. All right, so I just did 3 full passes, 2 half passes. And so the neck area has seen 5 passes. This is how much soap I have left, which is a ton. I mean, 4 passes in there, plus a little bit more on the brush. P.S. Now that this brush is in this different handle, it's at a slightly higher loft, and I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. I mean, maybe it's a little higher than I might think it's perfect, but I didn't want to drill this guy out. I don't have the capability to do that. And I wanted to try it at this point. I secured it with silicone, which means it should be easy to yank the knot if I do need to find another handle for it. Held plenty of lather. Happy with it. The dart behaved better than the past, but it required a lot of technique, a lot of work, a lot of concentration on the angle, and so there's that. So maybe tomorrow I might try a different blade, a younger blade on it, see if there's a difference. Very nice. Happy with it. It's gorgeous. We'll keep trying with it and see if it's going to be kind enough to me to keep. All right, now I'm not putting an aftershave product on right away. One of the attributes that the maker said was that this soap was designed to have nice post-shave effects. I do have oily skin, and so that does give me a little bit of advantage in this post-shave department, but I mean, that's still data. You know, he'll now be able to know how his soap works with oily skin folks. So I'm going to put things away and clean up and leave my face untreated for now. So I think I loaded for, I mean, like a minute, maybe even a minute and 15 seconds. Once I realized that I should add some water to it. And I think I ended up using 5 teaspoons of water. I probably could have used more water because those early lathers might have still been, I think they were a little too dry, a little too thick. I still, even on that last pass, I still felt a little bit of drag. So I'm going to pay attention to that. And that could have been totally me in my formulation of the soap. So we'll just see. Also, I used some moisturizer products a few hours ago. Was testing some. I don't know if they add drag. We won't do that over the next 24 hours. So we'll see the next shave what happens. I think maybe juniper has a little bit of a, almost a minty vibe to it. I wonder if there's a little bit of juniper mixed in with like that, whatever citrus I'm picking up. But anyway, the result, I do have a good many hairs down here that that have some length on them. However, there's a patch right here that is just perfect. And that normally does have a very problem area. So what that tells me was tonight my technique just wasn't quite where it needs to be because that one area got cut nice and flush. So I was spot on with the angle. And so what I'm probably thinking, it is my technique at this point. It's not the blade, it's not the age of the blade, it's not the soap necessarily. It's probably my technique working with this razor, trying to find a good place for it. I have maybe a level 2 or 3 out of 10 amount of irritation in my neck area. Had to do a lot of passes there. I'm not really surprised. I do feel just a little bit of, I don't know, drying. Not sure. Not sure at this point. It's not bothersome. I could definitely walk away and not have a problem. And it could just be related to the rawness and the irritation just a little bit. So, but we'll hold off for a little bit. I'll maybe if you want to read the comments about the post shave, you know, see how I felt like a half an hour after the shave or whatever, to know about the soap. I mean, you don't care how I feel, right? But if you're wondering about the soap base, then I'll try to put some information in there. We're done cleaning up, I think, and the cooling agent that I'm assuming is in the soap, fortunately, is very mild. It's nothing like the strength of the Paladin soap that I used last night. It's also not strong enough where it makes me feel like it's burning rather than cooling, which a lot of the menthol-based aftershaves do. They feel more like a burn than a cool. It did feel like a light cool, and so that part wasn't really a problem. However, I just don't like any kind of cooling effect in my soaps or aftershaves at all. Really, well, soaps especially. So that's just not my thing. If you like that sort of thing, then this base is probably a perfect one for you. And I don't think I'm really one for that zesty orange scent. I'm more for leather and musk, woody scents. You know, I like some of the almond scents as well. And so those are kind of maybe where I focus some of my stuff. I like some of the linen scents as well, like Mitchell's Wool Fat, that sort of thing. Sandalwoods are just my favorite. So this one may be not quite unique and different enough. I would say maybe not all that interesting the way it is. But I think it's refreshing, it's light. I think it's probably a good scent, especially for spring, summer, fall, definitely, and probably winter too. But yeah, there's some other darker ones that might be better for the winter. So I think it could, for a person who likes this type of scent, it could apply to a lot of the year to be a good scent for them. I think the base could be really, really good. I think my mix of it was a little bit rich today, and so my take on that is going to be a little off. So we'll thin it down tomorrow and report in as well. I think that is, oh, the B5, the Declaration B5. Holy cow, loved it. Loved it with more loft. Just a delight. The tips are phenomenal. Been saying that the whole time, but now, because the density in the center is just not there to mess me up anymore. It's able to splay a little bit more with the loft, and so I'm really, really enjoying it. So super happy about that. The razor, I'm a little bit more pleased than I have been in the past because this was a little nicer to me. We'll keep practicing with it and see what happens to keep it, to see if it gets more friendly or I get better at using it. Happy with the blade, not causing me irritation. I believe it's just a harshness due to the razor, and I got a great cut on a couple of little trouble areas that usually do cause me a problem. So there we go. Pretty good shave. Fun little science experiment on a few different fronts. All right, well, I hope this was helpful to you, especially Mr. Siliski. And a little report in on the first impression of someone who mixed his soap a little on the rich side, but I'm impressed with the base. My first impression, definitely, I am encouraged. I really like the base so far. Now let me see if I get the mixture right and maybe get rid of some of that drag. We'll see what happens.